Hello, welcome to Staring at the Abyss. I'm your host, Richard Gerlach. With me, as always, is Matt Brandenburg.
Yeah, I have nothing funny.
Yeah, I have nothing funny to say for this. That's why I'm just doing the basic intro. With me, as always, as well, is Velma Mist.
Yeah, well, I just came out of the closet, so everything should be fine.
Yeah, there you go. Playing hide and seek.
Yes.
Yes, a good game of hide and seek. Today's story can be found on nightmaremagazine.com, and it is Who the Final Girl Becomes by Dominique Dickey. So this is my first time reading any of their stuff, but I was very impressed.
Yeah, me too.
We'll I know we'll be covering it, but I loved how they took this concept and they were like, we're gonna go somewhere else with it. I thought that was super awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely a fresh take on the Final Girl concept.
Yeah, which was.
And I thought that was a nice change of pace. And it was, I don't know, it was, I guess for us, our last few episodes have been kind of heavy.
Yeah.
So it was nice to read, like, you know, something that wasn't as super heavy as some of the other stuff.
Not as child murdery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I will say this is a fantastic story to read. If you're into slashers, it's a nice play on slasher tropes. And Nightmare Magazine's rad, so offer them some support, because I'm a huge fan of their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They do every time. Every story is super awesome. So I
don't think we've ever discussed a bad story from them on our podcast.
No, I don't think so either.
Like literally, if I'm trying to find a story for us, I'm like, oh, just go to Nightmare Magazine.
Yeah. It's just like, well, this one will work. Well, it's nice because you can read it like for free, so that's always a plus. And yeah, they're usually pulling out like the top stuff. So
there's usually new voices that I haven't heard before as well, so I get to experience with new authors.
Yeah,
and it's always a good time.
Exactly, it's a magical fun time.
And you know what else is a magical fun time?
I don't.
I don't know what.
Infinity Pool.
Oh yes. Okay. Yes. How was it?
It was fucking wild. I will say this: Possessor is a better movie.
Oh, interesting.
I think Possessor is his best movie so far. Infinity Pool is more of a character study than it is of a plot-based movie.
Okay.
And it's very, very trippy, and it's very surreal. And he's being a little more indirect in this movie. So there's a lot more work that you have to do on your end to kind of understand what's happening. And it's good. It's really good. The horror elements are next level. It's brutal at a few points. It's super gross at a few points.
He's just meowing into the microphone. Yeah. Special guest today is going to be my cat, Shadow.
It was such like a perfect meow.
Yep. He just said hi.
Anything can happen on Staring into the Abyss.
Yes, that is true. The movie gets into just some really interesting aspects. The concept is you have this island nation, and they're kind of like a mixture of like a Caribbean nation and a Eastern European nation. And they are a poor country, and there's some vague commentary about how rich Americans go vacationing on poor Caribbean islands and like exploit the locals. There's kind of that commentary a little bit in the movie.
Okay.
But then it gets into like if people commit a crime or some specific crime in this country, it's punishable by death.
Yeah.
But this country has developed a way to clone people.
Okay.
And if you're a wealthy individual, and pay them money, they will clone you, and you will then watch your clone get executed on your behalf.
Okay.
What the fuck?
And is this clone like living?
The clone is living and has all the memories up to being made as the copy.
And they just have this
Yes.
technology? All right. Okay.
And the clones are just fine with that?
The clones are killed almost immediately, so yeah, I guess they gotta be fine with that.
Jeez.
And so our main character, played by Alexander Skarsgård, has that happen to him. He's befriended some other she's befriended the rich couple on the resort, played by Mia Goth.
Nice.
And I forget the actor who played her partner. And he gets brought into all this place where all these other rich people have committed crimes and paid to watch themselves get executed. And they kind of begin terrorizing locals to get arrested, to have copies made of themselves, to then watch their copies get executed.
I like that. That's a good concept.
And it just kind of spirals from there into depravity and it gets really fucking weird and wild. And I liked it, but I do think that Possessor would be the best entry point for Brendan Cronenberg stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, this sounds pretty cool. I did hear about a masturbating scene in this movie.
Yeah, there is a masturbating scene. You also see a 13-year-old boy stab a person to death. Very brutally.
Okay.
You see that same 13-year-old boy's head get ripped in half.
Oh, fun.
There's a couple orgy scenes. And you see nipples lactating toothpaste in one scene.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Is it like the sparkly crest kind?
it's a bit more gooey than that.
No one likes gooey toothpaste. Or maybe somebody does, but I don't. That doesn't seem good.
Can you define what gooey toothpaste is?
I can't.
Because, it's supposed to be a paste.
It's supposed to be able to sit like on your brush. If it's like really gooey, doesn't it just like come off and then you're like, well, crap, I got to put more on, and then that spills off, and it's like a great marketing ploy because you just keep buying it. But I guess if you're shooting it out of your nipples, then you're fine. Like, would you use your own like toothpaste making machine to brush your own teeth?
I don't know.
You're like, I never have to buy toothpaste again. Watch this. And then brush your teeth.
I mean, there is a thing like, I think a Lush is selling it, I think. It's basically like blocks.
Yes, I had some Lush's toothpaste like that before.
Yeah.
But did it come out of a nipple?
No, it didn't come out of the nipple.
Okay, well.
It's basically just like a little chalk.
Yeah.
It looks like a Pez chalk.
Do you chew on it?
Yeah.
Oh.
And like with moisture, you just kind of like, with moisture from your own spit, that's how you create pastiness, I guess.
Yeah. But
it's kind of like gum.
It's a little like gum.
People are like, what the hell? Hey, when you have nipples shooting out toothpaste, you got to ask the big questions.
That's true. So the movie just gets into a bunch of these rich people causing depravity around the island and terrorizing people, and then paying to watch their clones get executed.
So does this officially mark a trend of rich people being asshole movies?
I mean, that's kind of been a trend for the last like 5 years.
Yeah, I guess I could see that. Yeah, it's kind of been in the commentary in a while. But if you like body horror, check it out. I don't think it's his best. I think Possessor is still his best. But I think if you want a wild ride,
This is definitely the one to see because
Nice.
it was unpredictable, and I had no idea where this was going.
Yeah.
I also saw The Last of Us episode 5, which I will not spoil because I'm the only one in this podcast watching it right now.
Yeah.
But bring tissues. That's all I'm going to say.
Has it been like a tearjerker episode every week? I feel like it sort of has.
There's been 2 big ones.
Okay.
Episode 3 and episode 5 are the 2 big ones. And I expected that. And I don't think we're going to get anything remotely as tear-jerking. Near the end, we're going to get one more tear-jerking moment.
Okay.
The big ones are like episode 1 in the beginning, episode 3, and episode 5.
All right.
They're doing it at odd numbers.
Odd number episode.
Yeah. It's a good plan.
Oh, also episode. Yeah, another odd number episode. Episode 7 is going to be a big one that it's going to hit people too. So, yeah, it's an odd number. Those motherfuckers.
They know. They know how to ride that wave.
They know. But no, it's honestly, it is a really good show. I think HBO definitely got the right team behind this. If you play the games, the show does things differently, so it still keeps it as a surprise for the player, but it still stays faithful to the story of the games. So like it kind of does the best of both worlds. And yeah, I'm very happy with it.
How many episodes is there going to be? Do you know?
9.
9?
Yes.
And like where, having watched it and having played the game, how far does it take you into the game by episode 9?
They're supposedly to be done with the first game by episode 9.
Oh wow. Okay.
And I can tell you from having played the first game, episode 5 ends more than halfway through the story of the first game.
Huh. And then there's only 2 games, right?
Yes, but the first game's like a 10-hour game.
Okay.
The second game is like 35 hours long.
All right.
So they said it got renewed for a second season already, and they said the second game would have to be a 2-season narrative to do it justice.
I see.
Which I remember you were on our podcast. Well, this is before Vitla may join Abyss, but we did a podcast about Last of Us Part 2 a long time ago.
We did. That was a long episode too.
It was a very long episode with Dan Barnett.
Yeah.
That was a good one though. That was a long episode.
Hey.
Yeah, it's because it's a long game, and the narrative is a very complicated narrative.
Yeah.
So like do it justice for a TV show. That would, yeah, it would be hard. So we'll see what they do. I also on a lighter side of things, I was telling this to Matt earlier. I highly recommend the Harley Quinn Valentine's Day special. It is hilarious. Like I haven't laughed so hard in ages. Just for the fact there's a part of the episode we have a giant naked Bane running through Gotham going, "Nothing can satisfy my libido."
Okay.
It is hilarious.
Oh,
The premise is pretty much Poison Ivy wants to have a chill Valentine's Day, hang out at home, watch TV, and spend time with Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn's too obsessed with wanting everything to be perfect, so she wants to throw the best Valentine's Day ever for Poison Ivy. And the consequences of this ends up making everybody in Gotham uncontrollably horny.
I think I saw the trailer for this. Yeah.
And it is very funny. But the Harley Quinn this show I think has been very funny to begin with. So it just kind of adds on to how much fun and humorous the show has been.
It does sound super awesome. It's one of those things I need to watch.
And I have finished watching all of Velma
Okay.
because I did it. I watched it all.
Did you
Yeah,
watch
how'd
it?
that go?
Honestly, it's not as bad as everyone says it is. It's not good, but it's not terrible.
Yeah.
It kind of walks the line between good and bad, where like there's good elements about it, but the bad elements about it weigh down the good elements, if that makes sense.
Mm.
Yeah.
But the ending was fucking great. And I have high hopes for season 2 based on the ending of the first season. Like, I won't spoil any of the plot things, but there's a part at the end of the first one, they catch the killer and they unmask the killer. And when the killer is giving me, like, I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for meddling kids. Norville, the Shaggy character, his gun accidentally goes off because he has a gun on him. It hits the roof of the cave. A cave rock falls down, killing the killer and spraying them all with the killer's blood. And you see Norville just puking as Velma's giving her victory speech of finding the killer. And then, like, it fast forward 3 weeks, and you see Norville, who's like super traumatized, and he hasn't slept. And his dad sits down and goes, "Hey, son, have you ever tried marijuana?"
Okay.
And it's going to turn into the Shaggy Stoner stereotype in season 2. And I'm like, yes.
Oh my gosh.
So it's ending in like a way where like the characters are kind of hitting their like where they would be, a more kind of different version of them from the Scooby-Doo ones in like the second season. But it had some decent gags, but the negative things about it like really dragged it down.
Yeah.
And then besides that, I have been still reading The Deluge, and I joked about being almost done at 300 pages left. Your book is 889 pages. 300 pages is almost done.
It's like an afternoon.
Yeah. I will say, though, The Deluge is one of the most terrifying books I've ever read.
Yeah.
It feels very real, and it feels very plausible, and that makes it more scary. I'm intrigued to see where it's gonna go, but it's very, very good. I hope we'll have a whole review of it by next weekend.
Yeah.
But
we'll see.
We will see. And I have my next read picked out already too. Matt, what about you?
Yeah. So I read Brian Asman's Neo Arcana, which is his collection of stories. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stories in here. This came out this year. I actually picked it up at StokerCon, and I just love him. So he, like his novellas are great, funny kind of things. The only one I haven't read of his novellas is Nunchuck City, which I'm very sad I haven't yet because it sounds awesome. But I read all the other ones, and they're very humorous and kind of over the top, and there's some dark horror elements in it, but it's mostly kind of fun stuff. Well, his stories, while they have a bit of that humor, they tend way darker than I expected, which is great. And I should have known because he dedicates the book to Thomas Ligotti, and he's got a huge is the wrong word. He's got a pretty big afterword talking about Thomas Ligotti and how he really appreciates his work and his short stories and all that stuff. So like right from the get-go, you realize that this is not going to be totally his over the topness of having a Kevin Smith kaiju monster and stuff like that. So like, but that's not to say that there isn't some fun elements in this. A couple of the stories I really like. He has his pizza story that never made it into Max Boot's Pizza anthology, but it's the Siren Song of Sharp and Deadly Things, and it's a really awesome concept of. And people get this, and I'm sure there's a name, but like when you're standing on a really tall object and you look down and you have that like sudden urge of like, what happens if I fall or take the leap? This story takes that concept and puts it with a guy that works at a pizza place, and his house, he has took away everything that he could possibly harm himself with. So he's took away, all the knives, all of the Drano, any drugs that could kill him. He doesn't have a bathtub. His toilet has very low water. It's just anything that could harm himself, he's gotten rid of. And the character doesn't have suicidal tendencies, but he is afraid of that concept and doesn't really want to run into that. However, at the pizza place, there is all of those things. And so it's just kind of about him working there and trying to like navigate his way around not cutting himself with the very sharp pizza cutter, or sticking his head in the oven, or any other thing that could happen. And it ends in a way that's a little unexpected, but it's such an awesome story. And then Stool Pigeon was probably my favorite in this, because it's such just this like thing of there's a bar, just like a local dive bar, that has a pigeon on a stool. And if you're first time in this bar, you have to tell the pigeon truth. And like no one else has to hear it, but the pigeon will make like a face or something that will let them know if it's really the darkest truth that you can tell, or if it's just some made up small thing. And we're following this guy who like has been at this bar forever. He doesn't drink alcohol, just drinks pop while he's sitting there. And he's got a friend who wants to know why they're no longer friends. And it just goes somewhere that it's just awesome. It's just a fun, great kind of dark, twisted story. And but as you go through this, like they start getting a little bit more Legadian and just kind of dealing with deeper kind of philosophical subjects, and like the pointlessness of being around and just what that all means. And it's a great collection. I haven't seen much talk about it, so but it did come out this year, so I don't know. I think he's just riding the high on man, fuck this house, or something, or maybe it's not officially out yet. Maybe he's holding on to it. But for whatever reason, if you can find it, whenever he's publishing it, whenever it comes out for real, I highly recommend it. It's different than him, but it's still got his style. And he talks about it's the breadth of his career. It's stuff that he's written years ago that never was published, up to really recent stuff. So like you get a good taste of where he was and where he's going, even if you unless you've read his novellas, and you can kind of see that too. But it's great. It's a lot of fun. He's an awesome writer, and so I highly recommend this. Let's see. I finished Vox Machina. The last episodes came out this week, and
I have 2 episodes left, so shush.
I won't say anything, but it's super good.
Spill it all.
So you saw the Grog fight?
Yes.
Oh, that was just...
It was amazing.
Such a good battle scene.
Just the animation was so good.
I'm halfway through season 1.
Oh, just keep
watching.
Keep watching. It gets so good. Yes. So I won't say anything other than it's awesome. I know.
The ending of that episode was hilarious.
Yeah.
I had my sneaking suspicions, but that revelation, that reveal was so funny.
Right. Yeah. It was. I love because first season you kind of really focus on Percy and his background. This one,
and don't you just love it how useless he is now?
Yeah.
Like one person said on TikTok, he's just a fancy boy. Just allow him to be a fancy boy. And I'm like, yes.
I know, it's so funny to see him that way.
He is a noble, but he's like, I just recently became a noble again, so I don't know how to use it.
Yeah. And he like rides it. He's noble with a capital N-O-B.
Yes.
So it's really funny. Yeah, it's so good. I I know they're making Mighty Nine. I'm hoping they continue with Vox Machina too. So we'll see. But anyway, super great.
They will definitely continue with it.
I mean, they have to, right?
Yeah. It's too good. Like Amazon knows that the Phantom is too good, and they are still, they're doing campaign 3 now. So they still have a lot of source material to go through this. So they'd be crazy not to continue with it.
Exactly. And it's like you have the material. It's not even like you have to really, you have to edit it, of course, but it's there. And so you just have to animate it. So yeah, it's super good. If we've talked about this before, but you should really watch it. It's on Amazon Prime. And then finally, I jumped into the second Kagan the Damned book, which is Son of the Poison Rose by Jonathan Maberry. And I'm almost done with it. Just like we were talking about with the Deluge. I think I have like 200 pages left, and this is like a 700-page book. So, the math checks out. It's just as good as the first one. I was kind of telling Rich before the show, my only sort of complaint is he does a lot of backtracking, a lot of reminding us of what happened in the first book, and it's almost getting to be too much, where almost every chapter kind of will flash. There'll be a paragraph or two that's reminding us of what happened in the first one, which I get. If you haven't read it in a while and you didn't feel like going back and rereading the first book, because that one's a long one too, you might need these refreshers. But after a while, it's like, all right, I know what happens. Let's just move on to the story. But besides that, it's super great. All the pieces are playing. He's ramping up his horror stuff. We got basically zombies coming in that somebody's spreading around to make some bad things happen. You still got Cthulhu hanging out there. You still got the Yellow King hanging out there. You've got all your classic kind of horror stuff, tropes in here, but it's a sword and sorcery kind of book too. So super nice. And yeah, it's great. I'm hoping to finish it very soon because I'm having a blast with it. So that's my week.
And Velma, what about you?
I actually finished No Gods for Drowning by Hailey Piper. Like, finally. took me a while, but yeah.
How was it?
It was good. It took me like the third act went in a whole different direction that I expected.
Oh, that's nice.
And but I mean, it was funny though, because I read Queen of Teeth and I loved the ending in Queen of Teeth. Mainly because it was kind of like, as a villain story, like, I will burn the world for you. But in this case, it kind of wasn't. Like, it had a happily ever after kind of feel to it. And, it kind of felt iffy for me. It was like, I mean, there are elements of horror in this as well, but this is also, a noir book, and it's also a fantasy book. So for me, I mean, considering that this is a gender blender, like a genre blender, I meant, that maybe fit it. But for me, because I was more expecting a little bit more horror-ish things, that it had a happily ever after, I was like,
yeah.
I was expecting more destruction. It had a lot of gods in it, and they came to and they descended from the skies, and I'm like, whoa, give me kaijus.
yeah, right.
And it kind of didn't happen. I'm like, well. But there was one scene in which one of the gods does something, and it was horrifying. I mean, if I had seen that through film, that would have been amazing.
Yes.
Like, I'm not gonna say what happens because it's a little bit of a spoiler. So, but it was like, whoa, damn! I didn't expect that. But I mean, I enjoyed it though. In the end, I did enjoy it. It was a completely new to me book. Not something that I'm used to, and this is, of course, Hailey's first try at doing kind of a genre blender.
Oh, nice.
And so but I definitely recommend people checking it out, whether they like horror or fantasy, because it's a good blend of everything.
That's very
Yeah,
cool.
it sounds awesome. I have it on my Kindle. I'll check it out sometime.
Yeah. I've started How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix.
Yes, how is that?
I'm really enjoying it. I mean, some like Grady's books, they are a hit or miss for me.
Yeah.
I did not enjoy the final girl support group. I did not like it. It wasn't what I was what I was expecting.
I wasn't a fan of that one either.
No, I'm not gonna talk about that book much until we talk about the story that we picked for this weekend. But this one I like because it has a nice dynamic between a brother and a sister, and I relate a lot to the sister because she, even though she's the older one, she is the one who had to prove herself the most to her parents. Like her dad was really nice, and you can clearly, like, from what I have read so far, you can clearly see that like she was his favorite, but he didn't really show it though. And the younger brother, he's a complete screw up and a nobody, and he's a complete loser. And the mom loves him, and it's like, and it's this dynamic between them that they both don't like each other because they both think they hate each other. And it's like the brother hates her because she's more successful, and the sister hates him because he got everything instead of her. She got nothing. Like, she had to prove herself so much. Well, he just didn't do shit, and he got everything. So I really related to that. I was like, yeah, we us women, we really have to do the extra mile sometimes, and it sucks so bad. And I like. I did see, like, there was a couple of group people on TikTok who did not like how Grady writes women, and so far I haven't come across this, but I absolutely adore how he writes one of the old aunts. I think it was the sister of the grandmother that the main protagonist never got to know because they died when the daughter's mother was born, or something like that, when it was a kid. Like, she never got to know them anyway. And it's like this old crone, and her name is Aunt Honey, and you could just immediately, like, envision how that old woman looks like. She has that whiskey voice, from too much smoking. And probably a lot of whiskey, I don't know, on the side. and she has and she's supposed to be this, from the South, because all of her stories happens in Charleston.
Yeah.
And she's supposed to be this, like, Southern belle, but she's, like, at this point, like, at this age, she's like, fuck it all. And she has like a huge, like, a bad mouth, and like one of her, like, granddaughters, she said, like, he's such an a-hole when they were talking about the brother, and she was like, hold it, in this house we say asshole, darling.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes, and I was like, I knew that. I love you, please be more in the story. So I am enjoying it. This might not be for everyone if they hate dolls.
Oh God!
Because this book has a lot of it.
Oh, I love dolls.
Yeah, and puppets.
Oh jeez.
Because the mother, she made puppets.
Oh God!
And collected them.
No, thank you.
So yeah, so there's a lot of, like, you can imagine how the haunting's gonna be.
Oh God!
Man, it sounds like your kind of book.
Oh no, it sounds horrible.
Yeah. So I'm like almost 15 chapters in right now, and I do like the fact that each of the parts of the stories they symbolize isn't it for the 5 stages of grief?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the first part was denial, and now I'm still in part 2, which is anger, and then I think as the story progresses, it will go over the other 3 parts, and I like how he does it.
That is a good idea.
Mhm.
Still hung up on the doll part, though. I don't think so.
Yeah, it's gonna be a doozy. I don't like dolls either, so yeah, so I'm like, yay, this is not gonna be fun.
I love dolls.
I'm gonna send you a porcelain one.
I'll put it right next to my bed, and I'll sleep soundly every night.
Oh, thank you.
I don't know. Ever since I was a kid, my mom's sister, she would always like give me when I was a kid because her daughters were girly girls, and I was never that. And she would always insist on giving me either for my birthday or for Christmas, like Barbies or anything like that. And then she gave up, and then she decided to give me porcelain dolls.
God.
And I was like, what's the point of this? Like, why are you giving this to a kid? I can't even play with them. So they just stood on my windowsill, like right next to my bed, and with those dead eyes.
Yeah, and blocking your escape.
Yeah, staring at you all the time. It got to the point, I think, when I was 14 that I got so sick of them because they creeped me out so much that I threw them away, but not before using my blue nail polish and dyeing their hair blue. And then I threw them away because, because my mom thought they were ruined. I was like, oh no, that's so sad. Let's just throw them out.
Oh God, you're gonna start finding blue hairs places.
Yeah. No, not really. I mean, my parents have already changed my room into a storage room, so yeah.
I know they're gonna find them in your apartment, and you'll be like, "Uh-oh."
So Matt, with your aversion to dolls, I'm assuming you're not gonna see the Barbie movie coming out this summer.
I mean, they're not like dolls, right? God, maybe if they made it that no, just no.
So I also finished one book, one novella that doesn't come out until April 25th. So I was given an advanced reader copy for like in exchange for an honest review, and I really liked it. It's called Curse Corvus, and it's by Alex Ebenstein.
Oh.
I'm sorry, Alex, if I'm not pronouncing your last name right.
Oh, Alex, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, from Dreadstone Press.
Yes.
Yeah, it's this debut novella, and it's about this 2 best friends who are on a hike, and they come across just on the sandy dunes. It's in Michigan, actually.
Yeah, he's like a neighbor.
Yeah.
Not really, but very, very close.
Yeah. And they are, it's not. I think it's not that far away from Lake Michigan.
Yeah.
Where they're hiking, and they stumble across this like huge amount of dead birds. And as they walk a little bit further, they see a wedding dress, like that is just on a pole, and it's just fluttering in the wind. And beneath the wedding dress is like a bundle that has been wrapped around, and it's inside it is a dead bird, like a dead raven. And after they discover this, some weird things start to happen to them. And they kind of need to, before things escalate, they need to find out what is happening. And and just shit goes down after that. I don't want to spoil too much because, the book isn't out yet. But I really, again, I really related. I really sound like a bitter person when I'm describing this. But I really related to the main character. Her name was Lindsay, and how her display of emotion was, because she has this kind of like a pang of jealousy when her friend becomes really happy. And she's like she really wants to be happy for her, but at the same time, like, my fucking life is miserable. Why can't I feel like this? And I was like, you know what? This is relatable. It's like, I am content, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
So yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Oh, that's awesome.
I actually had a lot of things to consume this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I decided to take a break from writing. So yeah. This is what happens when you give yourself time.
Right.
I mean, you started the latest season of You.
Oh yeah.
And I, of course, finished it. Like, I jumped on it like on Friday. I'm like, oh yeah, and then I started watching it. Like, I binged it, but it was only just part. It was just part one, so it was only 8 episodes, I think.
How was it?
Interesting. I mean, I enjoyed it, but I don't like the direction in which they're kind of making Joe a hero.
Yeah, so I'm a huge fan of the books.
Me too. I love the books.
And I feel the show does the books injustice.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't like how they try to make Joe a hero. I don't like how they try to glamorize what Joe does.
Yeah, they are like this, and particularly in this season, it's more now. He's like, oh no, someone's trying to frame me. I gotta stop this and be a hero. And I'm like, you're a killer. It's like, you're a ruthless stalker and a killer. Shut up, man. And it's also so funny because it happens in London. And in this case, and it always is I don't know how the fuck he managed to do this, but like, he always managed to get in touch like with the elite and like the super rich and everything. And I'm like, okay, sure.
Magic abilities.
It's just so it was funny like in the first 2 seasons. It's like, then you're like, yeah, but now it's just all the fucking time, and I'm like, let him be normal, man. Like, let him be among normal people. Let him, and I hate saying this, let him stalk normal people. And then like on the first episode, I really hated the fact, like, oh yeah, I live in South Kensington now, and I'm like, fuck you.
Is this Joe?
Because Joe lives in South Kensington, and I'm like, that is one of the most expensive places in London. I've been to London a lot of times, and this place reeks of elitism. And I'm like, and you're a puny little bookstore manager. How the fuck did you manage to get like a
Is he still with Love? In the show, is he still with Love?
Is he what?
Are him and Love still together in the show?
No.
Okay. Because I know that was like a whole thing that was there from the books.
Yeah. No. Like, they removed her in season 3.
They removed her.
I mean, it's my way of saying spoiler alert. Yeah.
Yeah.
They sent her back to her home planet.
Kind of.
One thing I like about the books is, like, in book 3, for instance, when book 3 is going, it's like, at the start, you kind of feel that Joe's really trying to, like, turn over a new leaf in the beginning of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets to a point where he locks someone in a cage he built in his basement. Yeah. And I was like, if you're really trying to turn over a new leaf, you end up in a cage in your basement, buddy.
No. It wasn't even a basement. Like, in the book, it was like a separate room. There was soundproof and everything.
Yeah, but it's like if you ever try to turn over a new leaf, like you're having us believe in the first like 50 pages, you wouldn't have done this.
He just woke up, walked into that room. Damn it! I did it again.
Almost. No joke. Like, and he always justifies it, and you're like, nope.
Yeah.
You never know. I might come across the bear, and I got put it in my cage.
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting, and it's basically now it's gone to this kind of like a murder mystery thing. like a whodunit. And it's up to Joe to figure out who is the culprit. But the thing is, it was really easy to know who the killer was.
Was it him?
No.
Oh, dang it. Was it his twin?
No.
His clone?
No. I'm not gonna spoil it. You just need to watch it and just come to the same conclusion on the fucking first episode.
The guy with the shifty eye.
Almost. No, it's just like I saw it immediately. I was like, yeah, it's that person. Okay. And then the reveal it was at the end of the part 1. And I was like, oh, look at that! I should be writing this.
You should email the writing staff and be like, hey, listen.
It's like, do you want plot twists? I can give you plot twists.
I have some idea.
Yeah. I have notes.
I don't have an agent, but just hear me out. I got some ideas.
Yeah.
And I want to fix your show for you.
Yes. And and the first suggestion would be Joe dies horribly. And someone picks up the slack.
And then he wakes up and it was all a dream.
Oh God.
He was in a coma.
I tried watching you, and to me what took me out of it was the whole in season 1 it was the Joe helps the kids subplot.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, they're trying to make Joe likable.
Yep, they are. Yeah.
And that kind of ruined the show for me a little bit.
And it's in every fucking season.
And because one thing I like about the books, and I don't mean for the youth.
Yeah, I mean he doesn't like the kids in the books.
Well, he doesn't even help the kids in the books. He's
he doesn't even. He's like, fuck that. And they still always gravitate to him. And he was like, no, you don't want to be this.
Well, it's also in the books too is the fact that Joe doesn't do the helping the kids or the petting the kitten or the doing the nice things is because he has such a charming personality.
Yeah. Where
when you're reading him, you're laughing at his jokes, and then you're like, wait, that's fucked up that I'm laughing at this guy who's stalking a woman and is in her apartment as I laughed at a joke that he just cracked. What is wrong with me? I think that's what makes the books work really well.
Yeah, it's supposed to make you uncomfortable as fuck.
Yeah, and also the books are a satire too. Each book
they are.
Makes fun of a different aspect of modern culture.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel this show, from what I've seen of it, is well made, it's entertaining, but it feels like it's missing what makes you special as a book series.
Yeah, totally agree. And lastly, before we can go on and talk about the final girl, I went to see Knock at the Cabin yesterday.
Oh, Knock at the Cabin too.
What?
What do you think?
Yeah, you saw it, right?
Yeah, I saw it. What did you think?
The first half was amazing.
That was a very long pause.
The second half was shit.
Aw.
Because Shyamalan has to shove it into our throats all about the subtext.
Yeah, Shyamalan doesn't like subtext. He likes to make things explicit.
Yeah. He has to explain every single detail and be like, did you see it? Aren't I brilliant? This is how it is. And you're like, yeah, I got it. You don't need to show it in every fucking milligram.
The character literally just goes, they're the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse.
Yep.
Oh my God.
And I was like, no, geez, really? That didn't occur to me. It's just I did not like that. I agree with the Rich about, come on, there should have been ambiguity.
Yeah, the ambiguity I think makes that book work so much more.
Yes, and it makes it more horrifying.
Have you read the book?
I haven't, but I knew that it had a ambiguous ending because this is how because in this kind of scenario it's supposed to be like that.
Can I tell you what happens?
Yeah. Fine.
Okay, so this is the second half of the book.
Guys, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. the same first part happens. You turn the news on, you see the tsunamis, you see like the disease thing happening. Then near the end, there's a struggle. And this idea is like you have to sacrifice. And there's a struggle involving the gun. And the gun goes off. And it actually kills their daughter. And that's just after Leonard kills himself and releases the last plague. And then the storms get worse. So it becomes this thing that, like, us sacrificing our child wasn't good enough to appease God.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Yeah.
But then it doesn't really lean into, is this really the apocalypse? Is this not the apocalypse? And the ending that they have together is like, no matter what the future is, if we are cursed to walk upon this earth as everything dies, or if this is just someone's insane delusion, we're going to go through this together because we have each other.
Oh, damn, that would have been so much better.
And that's how it ends.
That would have been so much better. Are you kidding me? And it would have caused me to cry because that kid, I love that kid.
Yeah. The actress was great. The actress little girl.
That's the thing. I love the acting. From everyone.
Batista was great as
he
Leonard.
was amazing in it. I loved Rupert Grint, and I love the guys who played the gay couple. Like all of them were really great with the acting. I just like they managed to bring they brought up the tension and the intensity to 100, and I love that. But the execution of the direction, no.
One thing I also dislike about the movie, and I don't think Shyamalan was trying to do this. I think the whole bury your gaze trope. I don't think Shyamalan was trying to do the bury your gaze trope, but I think in making the movie, two things happened.
Yeah.
The first is Shyamalan would not kill a child in a movie. We know this. He wouldn't go that far to kill a little girl in one of his movies. No. So
and the rating would have gone up with that.
Yeah. So that means one of the husbands has to die. If you're not going to kill a little girl like they do in the novel, you have to kill one of the husbands.
Yeah.
Which then by doing that is kind of saying that in order for a gay man to move forward in this world, he has to sacrifice the man he loves in order to move forward.
And don't forget, it has to be the religion guy.
Yes, it has to be the religious guy. And I don't think Shyamalan was doing this intentionally, but like it leans into that kind of weird.
It links into that trope and into that stupid narrative.
I also his cameo was fucking stupid.
Yes, but I did appreciate it. We didn't get a close up of it. I appreciate that.
He makes it very obvious that it's him.
Yeah.
Which is funny because it's like he's like, oh, that's my ode to Alfred Hitchcock, but like Alfred Hitchcock never made it obvious when his cameos were in his movies.
Right.
Shyamalan is like, oh, here's a close up of my face as I read a line of dialogue.
Yeah. It wasn't as bad as the cameo in Old though, so yeah.
I didn't see Old. I heard too many bad things about Olds. I avoided that one.
I've seen it. It was like again, it had the same thing. Like he has to shove everything into your face, and you're like, you didn't need to.
Yeah,
trust the audience intelligence, man.
Yeah. I really think if he left Cabin ambiguous, even if they did kill, even if they did, the daughter lived and the husband had to sacrifice the other husband, and they still kept it ambiguous, I think it would have been a stronger second half.
You know what would have been awesome if he had left it at them speaking, and then we hear and then we just see the a frame of the cabin, and then we hear a gunshot, and then the movie ends. That would have been fantastic.
Although I will say, seeing the planes fall, this guy was really cool.
No, we laughed so much at that because this doesn't work.
No, it's not how it works. But it was
fall
cool
like that.
It don't fall like that. But you know what? It was cool to see, even though it didn't make any fucking logical sense.
It made no fucking sense. That's why I was like, why is that in the books too?
I forget. It's been like 3 years since I read the book.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was like, come on, man, that's stupid.
I read the
Like,
book.
give me locusts instead. Like, give me a swarm of locusts.
I read the book when it first came out, so it's like the details are kind of hazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I like the tsunami thing. Yes, definitely, because that watching that was actually hit too close to home. I was like,
You know what-
I'm getting flashbacks.
Before we dive in, a couple things. You know what's funny about that book and that ending?
But
Everyone hated the ending when the book came out.
are you kidding me?
And like I was one of the few who got it because I think people wanted answers, and the book wasn't about giving people answers.
No, I mean, for this kind of like this dilemma, because this is a psychological dilemma as well, and I absolutely fucking love those. Like, you have to make a difficult choice.
Oh, I agree. And
I
like,
mean, it's probably why I love the Telltale games so much, because in those games, like in The Walking Dead, Wolf Among Us, and other games that they've produced, you have to make a difficult choice, and you have to live with that choice.
I wish we got a second Wolf Among Us game. That was so good.
I know, but yeah, this like I love ambiguous horror that just because it leaves you with questions, but at the same time you can come. Like, if you read between the lines, you might be able to get it.
Yeah.
And when you do it right, it's fantastic. If you do it wrong, and this happens in one book that I read recently that I absolutely hate. It wasn't done right.
I think
despite the fact that a lot of people loved that story, and I'm like, okay, I mean, everyone's opinion is subjective, which is nice, but this did not go well with me.
What story is this one again?
Not gonna say.
Okay, tell us off the recording.
Yeah.
One thing I will say too, I think the reason why people dislike the ending of the book originally was because people joke that A Head Full of Ghosts, Devil's Rock, and Cabin at the End of the World is Tremblay's ambiguous dad horror trilogy.
Mm.
And so like you had like Head Full of Ghosts, which is ambiguous dad horror. And then you had Devil's Rock, which is ambiguous horror again, only focusing on a mother character who her son's gone missing, possibly out of existence. And then you have Cabin in the World, which is the apocalypse one. And each one is like, he never gives you
answers.
Is it paranormal? Is it not paranormal?
Yeah.
Because to him it wasn't about that. But
no, it was about the connections and the characters and stuff.
Yeah. But to the reading audience, it's like, okay, here's your third fucking book where you're fucking ambiguous as shit. So like, what the fuck, dude? You know what I mean?
No.
I disagree with that. I'm saying I disagree with that. But what I'm saying is, a lot of people felt like he was becoming a one-trick pony, essentially. And I disagree. I
mean, I haven't even read his stuff, and I vehemently disagree.
And like, I think people just don't like some people just don't like ambiguity, and that's okay if you don't like ambiguity. I think in a story like Cabin, you need ambiguity to make it work better.
Yes.
And like, I honestly, I love Cabin. I think Cabin's his best book, personally speaking. But that being said, I think his ambiguous horror works really well because he's going for the emotions. He's not going for the scares. He's going to rip your heart out and tear it into pieces. Like, that's what he wants to do with these stories. And it works. They're all very good.
Yeah.
I still have to read the Pallbearers Club. I have that chilling in my to be read pile. I
want to check that book out.
I
already have A Head Full of Ghosts, so yeah. I need to write that.
Head Full of Ghosts is the book that got me back into horror.
Oh, nice.
I had been like living in China and doing a bunch of shit and like reading, but I was mostly reading sci-fi fantasy, and then I saw Head Full of Ghosts, and I'm like, oh, that's a Bad Religion song.
Yeah.
And so I bought it because the Bad Religion song title reference, which is actually a Bad Religion reference, Paul Tremblay confirmed. And I read it in one sitting. I couldn't put it down. And that book got me back into horror, which then got me into being like, oh, what is Brian Keene doing these days? Because I was a big Brian Keene fan back when I was in high school, which led me to discovering the horror show with Brian Keene, which led me to discovering the whole indie horror scene. And like, I don't think I'd be here with you guys today if it wasn't for Paul Tremblay. Like, 100% honesty.
That's awesome.
That is super cool.
Let's go into fucking this Final Girl story.
Yes.
Yes.
Which I gotta get my phone to bring up Nightmare Magazine.
Well, while you do that, what I loved, so this is who the final girl becomes, and what I loved is it starts out straight up slasher, and it like, because it's Nightmare Magazine, so it tells you it's like 7,000 words, and you're going through the first, I don't know, probably quarter of this story is just straight slasher.
Yep.
It's a group of kids, group of teens,
like a high school kids, like, right?
Yeah, and they're at a cabin playing hide and seek, and a man with a pig mask comes in and starts hacking them all up. Except for one, obviously, because the story's called Final Girl. But what I loved is, like, as you're reading it, you're sitting there and you're wondering, you're like, well, where's this story going to go? Because we're getting the end of like a slasher at the beginning of the story. And so you're already kind of like toying with that kind of idea of what are they going to give us in the rest of the story, and they give us a lot.
Well, that's what it was like for me too. But it's also, when I was reading it, I thought it was clever how it started off like a slasher because it's who the final girl becomes.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, let's see how she becomes the final girl, and then let's follow the final girl's life after this event.
Yeah. So
this is why I want to bring up
Grady
Hendrix's book, which is called The Final Girl Support Group.
Yeah.
For those of you who haven't read that book, it is about, a group of final girls who get together and are like in kind of like a therapy session, basically. It's like a group therapy. And I did not connect with any of those final girls. It was nice. It was a nice nostalgia trip, basically. It was just, because you kind of knew what kind of final girl they were. It was like an homage to all the final girls of the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
But I could not relate or connect to them in any way possible. But reading this one, I did. And I feel like if Grady had gone into that direction in which this story is about, I think it would have been a whole lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because where they take us, our main character Cinda, it's so interesting and like a neat new spin. And I know we always say that, especially now, it's all new spins on slashers, but this one is definitely like the freshest take that I've seen.
Oh yeah, and it's like, and it's done in a positive way.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Is it honestly it's a really positive kind of story, which is,
it's a really feel-good story at the end. I felt really happy afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, me too. It's and I like because they did a really good job with commentary on stuff, especially of just now. So, we're seeing the aftermath, and Cinda is the final girl in her town, and just having to deal with all the people talking about being this part of this murder scene, and all the comments that she gets on Twitter, and like questions, and just these horrible questions of like
horrible questions.
What it was like and everything, and
like you and like all the podcasters are like, come on, you probably left a little detail. You can give us the detail, and we're like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, this is I love the commentary on that, because like with some true crime podcasts,
Oh yeah.
I absolutely hate the ones who are just, laughing about someone's person's dead or something like that.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I stopped listening to true crime podcasts a while ago.
Yeah. And it's just, I mean, and it is, and even like, I mean, it's a whole conversation of of negative versus positive comments and feedback and how that gets more attention and everything like that. And, but we won't go into that. It just, they do a really good job of capturing that concept and what that can do to a person. And so what's cool is that then Cinda kind of joins a support group. That's like through Discord, and they have weekly meetings, and it's like at first it's like 3 or 4 other girls, and they're all kind of talking about it. But then it just gets to be too much for Cinda, which again, I can agree. It's like that's a lot to keep talking about, and every week they
relive everything.
Yes, exactly.
And it's like a really weird version of exposure therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like okay, it can be cathartic for some people, but it definitely not for everyone.
Right. And just there's like a comment about how like they all kind of add in more details. They embellish the truth.
They stretch it a little bit more every single time.
So I just thought, again, that's an interesting kind of look at like that, living in that world and what that would be like.
I think it might also been a little bit of a commentary on the slasher films.
Yeah.
Because they are always embellished.
Exactly.
A whole lot.
And sequels always have to ramp up. They always have to be more.
Yes,
and so
exactly.
That's a good take. I like that. But as we go, Cinda goes to college. She's gonna start fresh. She cuts Twitter. Well, what I'll say is at first she cuts Twitter out, and then but she misses, as we all do in this social media age, of just randomly scrolling through Twitter at night. So she creates a persona, Nathaniel, and Nathaniel is what she wants, is everything. He's everything that she sort of isn't. She sets up rules on what things can kind of be as posting as Nathaniel, but of course it's hard to do that. So,
I definitely was like, yeah, I knew that didn't last long.
Yeah.
But what's and we'll get the spoiler in a second, but that then takes us to, there's a new final girl that shows up because Cinda's been sort of kind of skipping out on the Discord and on the meetings because it's been too much. Gets a message that there's somebody new, and this new person, and I'm scrolling through because I'm trying to remember the name.
Ellie.
I was gonna say it started with an E. So I knew that.
That's just something that amused me about this a little bit. Seeing Discord conversations happening in stories.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can never escape Discord anymore.
No, you can't.
That's definitely a sign of post-pandemic. Because before that, it was like Discord, that's just for games, right? And now it's like, no, it's for everything.
Yep.
But Ellie, I love this, Ellie is a final girl, but
yes,
is also where are we?
She was at the beginning a final boy.
Yes, exactly.
And she realized that she cannot be a final boy because there doesn't exist final boys. So
that's a
final girl.
I was trying to find that line because that was such like a good line, but you got it. You captured it. But which I thought was such like a cool concept because there's not, again.
It isn't. Like it was such a huge revelation. It was like, that's kind of true. Huh.
Yeah.
Like, well, if you leave out Evil Dead, then yes, there is no final boy.
And like Freddy's dead, and like
that's
there are couples, like a couple. It's funny because
Mhm.
I've been watching on Shudder the In the Search of Darkness 3, and
That's
there's like
6 hours long, dude.
oh, I know. Well, we've been watching bits and pieces of it. But like they bring that concept up a couple of times because like very little. It's not common
No,
to have a final boy.
because in how a final girl is, visualized throughout these slashers is because the virgin has to survive.
Right, exactly. So I thought that I like that, and that kind of then leads us to Ellie finding Nathaniel on Twitter and leaving a comment about going. I think it was about going to Final Girl, the meeting or something like that. And then they strike up a very strong relationship, and Cindy starts realizing that Nathaniel is a little bit more. And I loved it. It was just this awesome, slow.
Just the slow transformation was so sweet.
Yes.
It was really sweet. I also love how the first sentence foreshadows a lot of the story.
Yes.
And I think that's brilliant, the way that they were able to just take that sentence and expand it into having this whole part for the end of the story.
Yes.
Yes.
Brilliant foreshadowing, really strong writing.
Yes.
Really
I totally agree.
About finding yourself. Like, really,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful story of finding yourself.
It really is. Like, wrapped in a slasher commentary.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just super great. It's like a fun, I don't know, fun's not the right word, but it's a sweet story on just, Cinda, like, just kind of finding herself and becoming who he wanted to be. And there's a line that I read when I was reading it yesterday. It just stuck with me just because it covers a lot, and it's when Cinda was at the barber shop, and she cuts her hair very short. And I wish I could find it to pull it out exactly the way it is, but basically it's like, women are assumed to have certain hairs, and they act like certain hairstyles, and are they ask and all this stuff. But the concept of like men, it's always assumed that they should have short hair, and they don't. It's assumed that they shouldn't ask if that would fit for them, and I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, she was worried that it would fit her round face.
Yeah. Yes. There we go. Yeah.
And the hairdresser was like, I mean, men don't assume this; they don't care.
Yeah. Yes, and I just thought that was such like a great little catch.
I got it right here. Actually, it's what I tell women when they get a shortcut and aren't sure if they can pull it off. I tell them that every man, basically every single one of them, is expected to have short hair, and no one ever tells them they don't have the features for it.
Yes.
That for some reason that really stuck with me. I think that's like a good observation. But yeah, so like it's just and you're kind of seeing what Cinda is going through at home. When she goes back home, her parents are very.
I thought it was also really sorry that I'm cutting.
No, go ahead.
I thought it was also really interesting that when she was sleeping, I think was it Dalton? I think.
Yes.
I think when she was sleeping with Dalton, and she was like going, and they'd done their part, and she was just getting ready to go back to her dorm, and she's wearing boxers, and he's like. And he just brings out this comment like, anyone told you that you look like a boy?
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck, man?
Well, I thought it was has anyone ever mistaken you for trans?
Oh yeah, or that.
Yes.
And I was like, I mean, I sleep in boxers. What's wrong with you? They're super comfy.
Yes.
I took that actually a little bit too hard. I was like, wait, what's wrong with that? Some guys even find it sexy. What's wrong with you?
That's what happened. You got called out.
Yeah.
Well, and I like that she twists it and says like, given the givens, not often enough. And it's like that. I like that. That's like a good, like, you know, because he brings up the haircut and the way she carries herself. But yeah, it's again, it's just this like very great kind of like coming out story, and like how she finds herself, and how Ellie kind of this bond that they have and comes in, and like that there's that ending scene that just will strike, just it's such like a perfect ending of like what Ellie says to Cinda. Like I don't want to spoil it because I think people need to read it, but
yeah, I love that line. It was so sweet.
Yeah,
it was super sweet. I was like, oh, they get each other. They're sweet.
So this was a great, I think this is a really awesome story.
Yes, we definitely needed that. We've been on such heavy-handed books, heavy-handed stuff.
You know what's funny? Usually when I go to Nightmare Magazine to get a story for the podcast, so I'm trying to find a story from like one just to get us a quick story to read and discuss, but maybe find someone new. And so it was like, hey, let's do Sharp Things Killing Things.
Yeah.
That's right.
Or like it's usually super dark, and then this was just such a nice palate cleanser from like what we normally get from, at least the random stories I pull from Nightmare Magazine always seem to be the super messed up sad ones.
Yes.
So it was a nice palate cleanser from what I usually get from Nightmare Magazine.
Right.
Yes.
Well, and that's what I like exactly when you first start reading this, I was just like, oh man, where's this gonna go? And it went in a very great way.
I mean, the title, I was like, oh no, it's gonna be super fucking dark, isn't it?
Right.
And then I was like, and of course the beginning is kind of dark as fuck, and you're like, oh fuck. But then as you read onwards, you're like, no wait. There's actual hope in this.
Yeah.
It's not just children dying horribly in the woods. Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. It's like, oh my, this is so sweet.
Yeah.
And then you're left with this nice fluffy feeling, but at the same time, after a while, you're like, wait, is that supposed to be that?
Yeah.
And then you get confused because, last Rich said, we've been reading such like dark things. You're like, wait, I'm allowed to have this fluffy feeling because horror doesn't always have to be super fucking dark.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And like it's a good like, commentary and stuff. And there is like you when you're seeing the parent stuff, that's rough and that's going to be tough.
Yeah.
In the future, but like what we're focused on is Nathaniel and Ellie together, and
just their journey.
Yes. Yeah. And that's we can look at that and hold on to that and not think about kids murdering each other.
Yeah.
So yes,
it's a fantastic.
It like just came out, which is awesome. So definitely. I'll make sure the link's in the show notes, but make sure you read this. This is super good.
Yes, like if you're looking for something like short but impactful for Black History Month, because it is Black History Month.
Yeah,
this is definitely a great hitter.
Yes.
So,
but then again, also you should not just read stories by Black authors just for this month. You should read it all the fucking time.
Exactly.
All year round.
All year round. Same with women. Same with Latinos. Same with Native Americans. Like, just diversify your reading, people.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I can to be as diverse as I can when it comes to my reading.
Yes, me too.
It's good because it's good to support, good to see other things. It's just all around good times.
Yes.
100%. But Vitlame, where can our listeners get in touch with you?
I'm still lurking on Twitter at VitlameS.
And Matt?
I am also still lurking on Twitter, though I do see there's a new thing out there, and maybe we'll try it one day. But Brandenburg DM.
You can follow me on Twitter at Rudy53088, and be sure to give Abyss a follow with @IntoStaring. And this is Richard Gerlach saying, keep staring.